Even as someone with a PhD, the philosophical premise of turtles all the way down went completely over my head. The world turtle mythology, the infinite regress argument, the how do I know that I'm real sentiment left me with the same amount of exhaustion that I feel after completing my taxes. I also feel that the use of what feels like high theory might have been misplaced or maybe even misguided. And that's not to say that high theory can't exist in YA. But I do think it would have made more sense if Aza went to a high school with an international baccalaureate program where a class like Theory of Knowledge is a part of the high school curriculum. Or even if the novel was aged up and Aza was a college freshman and she was dealing with these philosophical concepts in one of her undergraduate courses. And since the use of high theory was taking up a lot of my own emotional and mental bandwidth, it actually made me feel quite distant from Aza as a character. And I guess to some extent, I was hoping that these concepts would actually bring me closer to her. Because when I read the synopsis, which reads, Aza is trying. She is trying to be a good daughter, a good friend, a good student, and maybe even a good detective, while also living within the ever-tightening spiral of her own thoughts. So maybe I was thinking that the use of high theory was going to affirm Aza's humanity despite her mental illness. And I don't know if humanity is the right word, but what I'm trying to work through is Aza's inability to trust herself, to trust that she is real. While as the reader, I'm also being confronted with the fact that I can't trust her worldview, can't trust her mental state, which could have been John Green's point, and to that I would say that then the book was successful. But then it makes me think that the book would have better been served by either an omniscient narrator or a close third narrator. Just so that as the reader, I'm not caught up in all of Aza's unreliability. I needed something to ground me, and grounding myself on a bunch of floating turtles was not working for me. Even though I do recognize that that kind of instability is where Aza mentally resides. It's just that enduring Aza's instability alongside her was not where I wanted to be as the reader. I did not want to be smeared with mustard, which brings me to my first point. Do not read this novel or watch the film while you're eating. If you are queasy like me, you will regret it. The attention to detail regarding Aza's picking habit was so well written by Green and so well cinematized by the cinematographer Brian Burgoyne that by the third or fourth time I saw it happening, I completely skipped over it, both in the novel and in the film. I either skipped right to the next paragraph or I pressed the skip button on my computer screen. I'm already an anxious person, so watching someone else's anxieties play out is just too visceral for me. I found myself becoming very curious about the feel of the skin at the tip of my fingers, and so I knew I had to nip that in the bud early on. I did read through the hospital scene. I felt that that scene was really well paced and was definitely an effective climactic moment for the novel. But I sped through it in the film. I did see it coming. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to stomach it in its real time, so I put it to 2x and watched the scene that way. All that to say is that Green's descriptions and the visuals used in the film left a really strong impression on me. And speaking of impressions, this brings me to my next point, which is the missing persons mystery. Because of Aza's instability as the narrator, as well as the overwhelming details of her picking habit, the Russell Pickett gone missing mystery was the only reason why I did not DNF this book. Sure, Aza and Daisy's sleuthing skills were very elementary, and yes, I did wonder if the Indianapolis police force knew anything about how to do their jobs. But by allowing myself to suspend a certain amount of disbelief, I did find the missing persons mystery to be the most compelling part of the novel, which cannot be said of the film. In the film, Aza and Daisy's sleuthing skills are almost given no screen time, so then it renders the mystery missing persons plot almost non-existent. And since the novel isn't a romance, the romance elements in the film aren't very well developed and/or aren't very compelling. So there was very little keeping me engaged with the film. Was there chemistry between Felix Millard, who plays Davis, and Isabella Merced, who plays Aza? Yes, they are two gorgeous human beings. Of course there's going to be on-screen chemistry. But because of the underdeveloped romance, I felt very apathetic about their relationship. And this is coming from someone whose favorite trope is friends to lovers. So if I were to say that I wasn't occasionally scrolling through my phone and glancing at the film, I would be lying. That's just how uninterested I was in their romance. Which brings me to my next point. I would venture to say that Daisy is the saving grace of the film. I mean, who doesn't love an independent, quirky, best friend supporting character? It's like one of the best YA tropes. Now, as for Daisy's moral makeup, I will give her some grace regarding her obsession with money. She was not a friend of Davis, so it makes sense that she couldn't care less about how or why those $100,000 materialized. But I couldn't get over the questionable morals of Aza. What kind of person do you have to be to take $100,000 from a friend that you haven't seen in a really long time, knowing that his father committed crimes, and also potentially knowing that the $100,000 is either fraud money or even blood money? While also knowing that the person the $100,000 belongs to is on the run or possibly even dead. Seriously, who does that? And I'm sorry, her battle with OCD does not absolve her from being a terrible friend to Davis. I mean, Davis must have been in such a desperate state for a friend to want to continue to hang out with her. Even him acknowledging that he knew that she had come back into his life as a result of the money, that's when she should have known she should not have taken it. But she took the money anyway. So it doesn't surprise me that Davis abandoned their friendship in the end. I actually felt very little remorse for Aza when Davis announced his quick departure. I mean, honestly, besides stalking him online, having these very menial text conversations, it was clear that Aza was not someone that Davis could rely on. Although I did hate how he blamed her for not wanting to be with him in real life, because he knew her mental struggles and her inability to have any kind of physical relationship. But like Daisy said, everything needed to be on Aza's terms. And for Davis, who was experiencing so much real-time grief regarding his dad's disappearance and taking care of his younger brother Noah, I'm sure it was obvious to him that Aza was just not going to be a good romantic partner if she could also not be a good friend, which made the ending, both in the novel and in the film, very unsatisfactory. And let me not even get started on the very anticlimactic part where Aza and Daisy stumble upon Mr. Pickett's dead body. Did I see it coming? Yes, I did. Did I roll my eyes when it finally happened? Yes, I did. So at the end of the novel and the film, Davis and Noah move out of state to Colorado. Aza and Daisy stay friends, and that's it. Maybe, just maybe, Green should have titled the novel Turtles All the Way Around, just to capture that circular motif. So that's my review for today. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.